Welcome, everybody. Great to see you here. Feel free to use the chat to introduce yourself. If you're a student or if you're a teacher, you can share more about where you're located and your role. And we'll get started in just a moment as more folks trickle in. All right, we'll go ahead and get started. We're 1 minute past the hour. Thank you all for being here. Really happy to connect with you all today. My name is Elise Gaynor. I'm a program director here at Digital Promise, working on the YouthMADE Festival. I'm personally based in Oakland, California, but Digital Promise, we have people all over the United States. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm gonna just start with a quick intro to Digital Promise for people who may not have heard of our organization before. Then I'll share more about the YouthMADE Festival, how to host an event, and then I'll talk about the awards program that students can be part of. And then finally, we'll get to next steps and then Q&A. So just a quick intro to Digital Promise. We're a global nonprofit working to expand opportunity for each learner. And we work with educators, researchers, technology leaders, and communities to design, investigate, and scale up innovations that empower learners, especially those who've been historically and systematically excluded. We have a lot of different projects and programs. You can learn more about our really like our full menu of work at our website at digitalpromise.org. But the YouthMADE Festival is one of the projects that we run. And just to give you a little background, so the YouthMADE Festival came about because the team that I work on has been doing running different projects related to student creativity and innovation and making and designing as a way of learning. So really since I started here at the organization, and that was about 9 years ago. And so we've had multiple different programs that supported students in this way. When the pandemic started, it disrupted some of the showcase opportunities that we offered. So for example, we had a filmmaking project where students could create VR and XR films and media, and then they could showcase their projects at the UN General Assembly. And so opportunities like that were disrupted when the pandemic started. And so about 2 years after the pandemic started in 2022, we were thinking through like what other ways we could support students to showcase their work and celebrate what they've created. And so that's how we came up with the YouthMADE Festival. And not only is it for showcasing the work that students in Digital Promise programs have done, we wanted it to be open so that anybody could share and showcase during this time. And so, everyone would have this like shared platform to showcase their work. So the purpose of the initiative is to amplify students' voices, obviously through having them showcase their work and share and learn and share more about what they've worked on, as well as being able to learn more about what students in other parts of the world are working on. The second purpose is to fund and recognize student-led work. And so we do that through the Amplify grants and our community awards, which I'll speak more about the community awards later in the presentation. And then we also aim to build community with like-minded peers around the world. So that includes educators and students. We have our educator communities, both the one on LinkedIn and then with educators who have received grants or awards from us, either through the YouthMADE Festival or through the CNS Solutions Challenge. We like to connect those educators to learn from each other. And then, of course, we invite students to attend other students' sessions during the YouthMADE Festival so that they can learn more and build community with their peers. So the festival, the 2-week festival is coming up in just a few weeks from May 5th to 18th. And this is an opportunity for people all over the world to host events showcasing student work. And then we at Digital Promise help you promote your event. You can also nominate students for a YouthMADE Festival Community Award. And so I'll talk about that a little bit more later in the presentation. For folks who maybe are unaware, the YouthMADE Festival is completely decentralized. So you're able to create really whatever you want to celebrate, whether you want to share content, whether you want to do an event. It's really up to you. And so I'll go through the different ways that you all can showcase student work during this time. Before I talk about that, I want to share some of the guiding principles that have really informed the design of the festival and how we think about this experience. The first one is inclusion. We try to make it as open and inclusive as possible. So all youth educators, advocates, and organizations who are championing youth creativity and innovation may participate. If you are participating, you have complete creative control over your session. You don't have to submit a proposal or apply to create whatever you want to create. And so this helps for us make it really inclusive. People can do events in their own language, in their own time zone. You can do something in person, you can do something virtual, hybrid. It's really up to you because we want to make it as accessible as possible. The second principle is reciprocity. And so I mentioned earlier that as part of the design of the YouthMADE Festival, we wanted to not only celebrate what students in programs that we're facilitating are doing, but open it up for people all over the world to join us in that celebration. So in that vein, because we're highlighting what people all over the world are doing, we also invite you, if you're a participant, to not only just host your event and share what you or your students are working on, but also to attend other people's events. And that's of course a lot easier when the events are virtual, but you can see everything that's happening on the directory and decide what else you might want to attend during those 2 weeks. And then the last principle is around joy. We want you all to have fun with your event and create something that brings joy and delight to you and your community. And so that means that, if you're a teacher, we know that there's just so many different demands that you might have in a given school day or a given school year. And so the last thing we want is for you to feel like this is a extra add-on or a burden. So creating something joyful could be doing something really small just with your class, setting aside 30 minutes or however long that you have in your session to allow students to celebrate and showcase what they've worked on. Or for other people, it could look like hosting a really big community event and you invite everybody in your town to your school or to like a community center to showcase and share student work. So whatever it looks like for you, it's we encourage it, and we're just happy, for you to do something that is feasible and that is delightful. So with that, I'm gonna switch gears into how to host an event. We have an article on our website that is written to help you think through the steps of what you would need to do if you are hosting an event. And this is like a pretty this slide here just summarizes what's on the article. So if you wanted to read more detail, you could navigate to youthmade.org and then find it on our website. But basically, the main steps are to first consider what student work to showcase. The second one is to consider how you want to showcase student work. Then you're doing step 3 right now, attending a YouthMADE info session. Then you can add your event to the YouthMADE Festival directory, and then finally invite your community to your event. And so I'm going to go through all of these 5 steps right now. So the first one is to consider what student work to showcase. For those who don't know, YouthMADE stands for Youth Making, Activism, Art and Design, and Education. So this is a pretty broad spectrum of student-produced projects, whether it's in STEM, the arts, media, advocacy, activism, and more. It's broad on purpose because we want to embrace and celebrate all forms of student creativity and innovation. So really whatever students are working on that they're excited about, that they're really engaged and invested in, and the projects that are at a stage where students can share about their process, those could be good candidates for projects that you might want to showcase. The second step is to consider how to showcase student work. So when you're hosting an event or showcasing student work, you can decide how you can decide how students would do that and like what the format would be. So you could host something virtual, it could be in person, or it could be hybrid. And so that could look like a panel, a workshop, a flash talk, an assembly or community gathering. And this is not a fully comprehensive list. There are definitely more formats that you could choose. But essentially, these are the ones that people tend to do. And any of these can be done virtual or in person or hybrid. So if you have a panel, that can be done in person with a few students talking about their project or their work, or it could be done on Zoom virtually. A workshop is similar. You could have a student teach something that they've learned or teach a skill that they've used in their project. That could be in person or it could be virtual. Same with a flash talk, a short 10, 15-minute talk about their project or demonstrating something that they worked on. That could also be virtual. It could be in person or it could be hybrid. And then finally, the assembly or community gathering. You can gather people virtually or you can gather people in person, or again, do that in a hybrid way where you bring people together in person, but then you live stream or have virtual elements of it. So there's lots of different options. It's really up to you to figure out like what's going to be the most feasible, what's going to be the most joyful, delightful, all the things that I spoke about earlier. But you have complete creative control over what you want to do. And then I would say if you're a teacher on the call, of course, include your students in determining, what the best way for them to showcase their work would be. So a couple of examples. I have here an example of a virtual event. This was a panel done by Teens Media Network by Colectivo Piloto in our 2023 festival. And they had 2 students here, Abigail, Michaela, talking about their work in filmmaking and graphic design. And so I thought this was a good example of a panel because we got to hear directly from the students about their work, why this Teens Media Network was important to them. And it just worked out really well with the format. The second example I have here is a demonstration done by a student, João Pedro, in Brazil, where he shared his website, Scarn, which teaches math concepts in a really engaging and interactive way. And so I thought this was a great example of a virtual event because the project wasn't 100% finished, but there was a lot done that he could talk about, the development and the process. And so we were seeing him actually get into the site, show how it functions, show how users can operate the site. And then, of course, the background information of why he created it and, what's it for. And then people could ask questions. So I thought this was a really great example of a virtual event, especially if there's a student here, or if you have a student who has something that's online, like a website or an app, and they can just demonstrate it. This format can work out really well for that kind of project. And then my last example here is an example of an in-person event that happened in Houston, Texas, called their Gator Crawl. And they invited the community to the school to learn about what students were working on. So you see the examples here in the photos where students have their projects, and there's different tables, and then people could come up to those tables and learn more about what the students were working on. This is also a great example because the Gator Crawl is an event that this school already had on the calendar. And so then when they learned about the YouthMADE Festival, they shared about this event with us. They added it to the directory, and then the teacher sent photos after. So that's all to say that if you have something that's already going on in May where students are going to showcase their work, you can add it to the directory. You don't have to create something brand new for the YouthMADE Festival. For us, it's really just about curating and amplifying what's happening. So it doesn't have to be like a brand new thing that you create. If there's something already going on, you can incorporate that into the 2-week festival. And then finally, you can share content on the directory as well. And that could look like blogs and articles. It could be a virtual gallery, could be a pre-recorded video, and really anything else that is hosted on an external URL. This last bullet point is pretty important because we can't actually embed media in the directory, but if you have, photos, if you have an article, if you have videos or something else that people can access with the URL, you can add the link, and then that will be part of your directory content. So whatever you decide to do, whether you decide to do an event or whether you decide to add content, you will add it to the YouthMADE Festival directory. This is a screenshot of the directory last year with the different events that we had going on. But in order to add to the directory, you will need to use the form on youthmade.org. If you just scroll down on the main youthmade.org page, you'll see this form here where you put your information in the fields. You do have to be 18 or over to use this form because we're collecting information like your email address and your location and your first and last name. So if you're a student on the call and you're under 18, we just ask that you have an adult, whether it's a teacher, you could be a parent or other guardian, fill out the form on your behalf. But you'll start with filling out this form. When you get to the question, do you have an event or content to share for the festival? You'll click yes, I'm sharing an event or content for the 2025 YouthMADE Festival. And then more fields will open up where you can tell us about your event or your content. And so you'll fill that out. And then if you are doing an event with a specific date and time, you can indicate so here. If you are sharing content, you don't need to fill out this date and time section. And then if you're adding content that's available to view now, then just hit this box, content is available now, under the time zone field. And so that will let us know that it's ready to be viewed now and doesn't have a specific time or date that people can access it. So then the fifth step is to invite your community. We have a lot of different graphics and illustrations and such that you can use. The first item here on the far left side are our profile frames. You can feel free to use these on social media. This is just an example of the one that I have. This is the photo from my LinkedIn. And then right next to that, the yellow box at the right of the profile frame is a customizable card that you could use to invite people to your event or your content on social media. So once you open the card, you can actually change the text on here. So you see you can edit, check out my or content type, and then put in the information about how to access it or the dates. And then you could save that and then share it, on your own social media and inviting people to view or attend your event or your content. And then above that in the blue box, we also have these pre-made social media cards with different designs on them. So you're free to also share those as well. And then additionally, we have a bunch of illustrations. So there's two examples here, the hand with the megaphone and the globe, but we have a lot more. And so you're free to use any of our illustrations and logos if you wanted to create like t-shirts, or if you wanted to create pens or stickers or really anything, any kind of swag, you're welcome to do that. We also have the slide deck template. So if you're doing a virtual presentation, you can use this exact same slide deck template that I'm using for this presentation. You can use it for yours. And yeah, I think we have a little bit more than that too, but you have to go and check. This is on our design kit on our website. So if you go to youthmade.org and then go to the left-hand menu, you'll see a link for the design kit, and you can use any of the items that are in this design kit. We also have some other resources to help you host an event. I mentioned the article before, how to host an event in 5 steps. We have a guide for choosing a platform for your virtual event. So if you want to do something virtually and you're not sure exactly what platform to host it on, you can use that guide to consider what could make sense for what you want to do. We also have a guide for reaching and engaging your community in your event. So you can check that out if you want to host something that, whether it's virtual or in person and you really want to engage your community. Personally, I encourage that. I think people in your community are going to be really excited to see students that they know, or students that are at their local school showing their work and showing what they've created. So I do really encourage, if you are hosting an event, to really focus on engaging people in your community and inviting them to be part of your celebration. And your community could be your school community. It could be, your town or like your local community. It could be a faith community. It really doesn't matter exactly which type of community, but just people that you are, in relationship with and would be excited to see students sharing their work. And then finally, I mentioned the design kit. We have the YouthMADE Festival Design Kit as well. And you can find all of these resources at youthmade.org. I'll also share this slide deck with you all with all of these links. So you'll have direct access to click on any of these links after the presentation today. So I'm gonna pivot now to our YouthMADE Festival Awards. I did mention earlier the Amplify Grant Awards, but that is currently closed. The applications were due on April 13th, but I do want to talk about our community awards. And the community awards are essentially a way for people in your community to give feedback and kudos and basically celebrate student creators. And so the way this works is that actually next week, I'm going to provide you a link for everyone who has shared content or shared an event on the directory. I'll send you a link. You can share this link with your attendees and supporters. And then all of the people who are attending your event or supporting your content will write kudos and nominate students for superlatives. There's some examples in the form about superlatives, but some examples that they could create include like most creative use of technology, or most committed to the community, or maybe like something like most artistic way to advocate for social change, or really whatever the case is. The attendees can really create their own and just be super creative when it comes to determining what those superlatives should be. And then we'll compile everything that people submitted, and then we'll create an announcement highlighting the students who were nominated, including quotes from people in their community who nominated them. So we won't have like every single person's quote, but we'll pick out some really great quotes from people who nominated them. And then, all their nominations, will use that to inform, what the superlative should be, and then how they're kind of displayed on the announcement. If you want to take a look at last year's community awards, you can do that. That's also on our website. You can see the folks who were nominated. We also have our 2023 community awards up as well, so you can look at the one from the year before that too. One other thing that we can provide as well, in addition to the announcement, is certificates. So if students would find that meaningful and they would like a certificate showing, that they received this community award, we're happy to provide that as well. So before we go into Q&A, I just want to highlight a few next steps after this presentation. Once you've decided exactly what your event or your content will be, you can use the form at youthmade.org to add it to the directory. Then you can use the materials in the design kit to spread the word about your event or your content. And you can also follow us on Instagram at YouthMADE Festival. So I'm going to pause here to see if there are any questions. I know I saw some stuff happening in the chat. Yes, I am going to share the recording of this session, so you all will receive that. Hopefully the next couple of days once the recording is ready. I see a question. We are planning on having 2 events, an offline event, the Eco Fair, and a virtual event. For the virtual event, we are planning to use video, still in the making process. Since the video isn't finished yet, can we register first, then add the videos later? Okay, so for the virtual event, when you say using video, do you mean having a live stream or adding a pre-recorded video? That's the part that I'm curious about. But in any case, you can still register the first event or both of them. And then if you want to send me the links after, okay, it's a pre-recording. Yeah, that's fine. You can either, if it's a pre-recorded video, you can add it when the pre-recorded video is ready, or you can just send it to me and I can add the link once, if the content is already added to the directory, or if like the description's already added to the directory. So either way works. You can register first and add the videos later just by emailing them to me, or you can just wait and then add everything once it's ready. But either is fine. Somebody asks, they want to make a slight adjustment to the PowerPoint. Yeah, that's fine. You can change the PowerPoint that you sent, and then just send it to me and just let me know if you have multiple. I'm not sure if for some reason I feel like you might have multiple entries on the directory, so just let me know which one it's for, but you can edit it and I'll update it on the directory from my side. So I answered this one. We are sharing the recording. Oh, will I be covering the Amplify grant information? So I won't be doing that because the grant deadline was April 13th. So you can't apply at this point. We're not accepting more applications, but if you did already apply and you want more information about the next steps, I've been sending emails to everybody who has applied with just more information about what to expect. So I'm happy to repeat that here. And so essentially, the projects are being reviewed, and then we will contact everybody who has applied for an Amplify grant during the week of May 19th. So not necessarily on May 19th, but just during that week. We'll be contacting all the applicants to let them know the status of their application. And then we'll publicly announce the Amplify grants on May 29th. And then for the community awards, we'll be collecting all of the feedback from people in your community I believe through May 27th. The form for the community awards, people will need to fill it out by then. Excuse me. And then we'll compile what people submitted, and then the community awards announcement will actually go out on June 5th. So somebody else has asked, our school art fair is May 4th. So it's outside of May 5th to 18th. Can I still list the event in the directory? Yes. Feel free to still add it. We have a few events on there that are outside of the range of May 5th to 18th, but it's perfectly fine, especially if this is something that you already had planned and going on. So yeah, I would encourage you to add it. And then one thing, I'll be emailing this to everybody who's added to the directory, but we'll be doing highlights from each week. So if you have photos from a live event, we would love to see them and then be able to share them on our social media. But I will email everyone about that so you'll know, you'll get a reminder if you're interested in sharing photos or like a recap of your event. We can share that on social media, and you'll get a reminder about that when I email you. So I don't see any other questions. Let me see if anything else has been added to the chat. Yes. Can we change the project of our event to a different project? So I'm assuming you mean like you want to take away you added something to the directory, and now you want to switch and add something different. If that's the case, just add the new project that you want displayed to the directory and send me an email and let me know which one you want to take down. So yes, you can do that. The form to add events or content to the directory, you can actually fill it out multiple times. So yes, you can feel free to do that, but just email me, and I'll put my email in the chat in case you don't have it, and let me know which one you want me to take down. And then I did answer this question before about the PowerPoint presentation. So yes, you can make an adjustment to the PowerPoint. Just send it to me once you're done and let me know which directory item the presentation is for. You changed the first day of presentation into a webinar. What will we do as students? I'm not really sure I understand this question. I don't know that I changed the first day of a presentation into a webinar. Yeah, maybe email me because I'm not exactly sure what you mean by this question. If you can share more about what you're saying, then that would help me know how to answer your question. But I'm not exactly sure what you're referring to. But yeah, feel free to email me and we can discuss more about this question that you have. or if you want to write in the chat, you can feel free to elaborate on what you're referring to. So I think it looks like those are all the questions that people have. Like I mentioned before, I will send the recording of this session, and actually it'll be available publicly as well. So if you need to refer back to it, I'm gonna have this link on the website. But I just want to thank you all for coming today. And yeah, definitely let me know if you have any other questions. You can send me an email. And I'm really excited to see all the work that your students have created and just learn more about what's happening at your schools. So I'm going to end this session, but I'm grateful to connect with you all today, and I hope that wherever you are in the world, you have a great rest of your day. Bye, everybody.